Hey, what's up everyone? This is Jaxler, and this is part 4 of the Neopets TDF any percent tutorial. So if this is the first video that you're catching of this, go watch the other videos first, otherwise this won't really make any sense. Start with episode 0 if you can, okay? So after beating Narfus, you should land about here, facing like this way, okay? What you want to do is turn around 180 and go between this gap between the trees, and make sure that you look in here for negs, and you want to make sure that you pick up a neg. Now, picking up a neg for the first time will cause your gravity to reset. For whatever reason, after the Narfus boss fight, some weird stuff happens to your gravity, so getting the neg is a kind of a requirement to make sure you can continue ledge flying. I also recommend just doing a jump attack. I know it seems random, but it can help reset your gravity. So you're going to go around the tree to the right, and this should look familiar if you paid attention to last video, to that backup strat. You're going to climb up the vines, and we're going to set up for that ledge fly again. So we're going to go to the leaf that's on the floor here, grab the ledge and re-grab it. And now, during the previous video, I said that you should be have it so Tor's left ear is in the middle of this left streak of moss. Have it so that Tor's right ear is in the middle of that left streak. I find that this angle is a little bit safer. And now we're just going to do another ledge fly. So again, as a reminder, you hit circle and then back in X. X as soon as you see the white flash. So doing that particular setup actually gives you a bit of a lower ledge fly angle, and you will most likely land down here. Just keep walking further away from where you ledge flew from, and you should get up to here. If you get stuck, keep jumping, okay? And you should eventually land somewhere out here, okay? So what you're going to do is you'll see a river in the distance. Just keep running towards it, and eventually you will drown, and you'll get warped back up inbounds. What this does is it just avoids having to backtrack all the way through Illisen's Glade to get out of here. If you see like this sort of thicker bit of the river, go a bit towards the left where you see these rocks protruding into it, and you should drown more. And then immediately fall off the ledge and drown again, and it'll put you further down the path. Okay. So now we're going to do another kind of crazy strat in order to get into the castle early. Simply known as castle warp. We also call it like a wrong warp, because we like to name things after Zelda glitches, because this game is basically a Zelda ripoff, right? Okay. What you're going to do is go across the bridge, okay? Go across the bridge. Go to the right of this rock. I'm being very specific here. Go between the tree and this rock, and then go between these two rocks. Now, taking that specific path to the edge of the river right here avoids a bunch of triggers for enemies spawning in. Doing this trick is a lot more difficult with enemies spawned in, so make sure you take this particular route. If you have to, go ahead and kill them, but make sure you take your supernova off before you start attacking them. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We want to ledge fly to that hill over there across the river. So what we're going to do is, as per usual, we're going to inch to the edge and then fall off to get us as close to the ledge as possible. Now we want to face Tor this way, so there's a lot of different spots along this sort of cliff face that will work. Just make sure that Tor is roughly... Tor's like torso is parallel to the edge here, so he's just have him face this way, all right? So now what you're gonna do is just do a ledge fly as we've been doing before. So circle back X. Okay, that happens sometimes where it just won't give you a ledge fly. So there's a good chance enemies will spawn. Let's see if we can continue to have them despawn here for practice's sake. Oh, I didn't know that worked for keeping them despawned. Okay. So if you go along the river, apparently that avoids having enemies spawn in. That's really good to know. Alright, keep going this way, and now we can try this try again. If you see that weird thing happen where you just kind of start rising and gaining height, just do the ledge fly in. That's nothing of your own fault. That just happens sometimes after Illisen's Glade. Okay, so now we do a ledge fly. I said we do a ledge fly. There we go. Was pressing X, I think, a tad too early. And you should land on this hill thing, okay? Now you're going to start running through here, and you should see this big open area behind here. You may end up, like, somewhere over here. You may end up through this wall. It doesn't really matter too much. What you're going to do is aim for this dark patch of trees over here, and this is where I would recommend... actually, no, don't pop a potion yet. Hold L2 and you'll fall down. Once that dark patch of trees goes off the top of your screen, start turning to the left. And eventually, as these rocks pass over your head, you'll start to see a tunnel in the distance. Now, that tunnel right there is what takes you to Shadowglen Woods during Act 1, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to run up to it, get as close as we can, and we're going to start walking. Now, we're going to take this a little bit safe here. But there's a bit of the edge of the tunnel that sits outside the wall. So we're going to get close here, start walking, and then as soon as you see me upwarp, I stop. Alright? As long as you're outside the wall, you're good. Now what you're going to do, hold L2, walk backwards, and jump. You'll roll, and then keep holding backwards a bit, and you should be about right here. Okay, now if I load up the map, you should see that Shadowglen Woods is activated. If you don't see that this is activated, then you haven't, then go a little bit further onto the floor of the tunnel. Okay? So now, we're going to keep going in a northward direction with regards to the map. Until we get a little bit past the R2 button on the map, okay? So once you do this part, I recommend, this is probably a good time to pop a Mirka Speed Potion, okay? So make sure that you're facing the right direction. And then you should see it go back to light if you're holding the right angle. And run for a couple of seconds. And if you pan to the right, you should see this green plane over in the distance. You want to avoid that thing like the plague. If you hit that, you load in Meridell Village. Essentially what we're doing is we've deloaded Meridell Village, and we're going to run around it. So once we've gotten around that green plane, we take a 90-degree turn to the right and start running straight. And then as the rock wall passes over your head, you should see this castle spire here, okay? Then keep running, and you should see a shadow right about now. Oh, it didn't show up for some reason. Okay, keep running forward, and then eventually, if you turn to the right, you should see Meridell over that way. Now, essentially, once you see these castle spires to your right, as long as they're, like, to the right or right in the center of where Tor is, you're good, okay? Now, look closely at the top of the screen. Once the third spire here in front of you passes the top of the camera, so right now, take a right and keep running, and then you'll see sort of this, this, like, green dome in the back despawn. When you see that despawn, stop, okay? So now what you do is, if you did this correctly, you should see a completely black screen, and you'll see, like, a loading thing. So go ahead and equip the cloak, and then uncloak by hitting circle, and you should be loaded into the Meridell Castle courtyard, okay? This allows us to get back into Meridell Castle, because normally, if you do all the stuff we just did in Illison's Glade, without opening the door to get in here, you can't get back in here unless you take the route through the sewers in Act 3, and that's actually what we used to do in the speedrun. But what we did through Out of Bounds is we accessed a trigger that the devs left in the game as another means of entry into this level. So now for this split, essentially once you get past this sort of overlook archway thing, I jump up over here, and you want to go to this door next to this tall outpost thing right here. I generally split for Castle Warp as soon as I enter the door here, okay? Alright, now for Collapse here, I'm going to be showing a lot more beginner-friendly strats here than what I normally show. So what you're going to do is, I'd recommend not popping a Mirka Speed Potion here until you really practice. Sorry, turn to the left after you get out of the hallway. I'm going to equip Jupies here. Take the left staircase and go up both sides, and then take this door to the left. Take another left. And then to the right here is a switch that you're going to want to pull. And this will let you enter the collapse sequence. Okay? Now after this, you can do collapse casually if you want, but I'm going to show you a really fast way to get through this segment. because otherwise it can take upwards of like a minute and a half. Okay. So as soon as we skip the cutscene, we're gonna run directly to the left so that we can bait the fairies into attacking us here, okay? Now I'm gonna try to go through this quick, okay? So this might be, once you see me set this up, this will be a good time to pause the video. Go to, on the right side, this pillar right here, sorry, the left side. Have them break it, and then we're gonna ledge grab it and do a ledge fly immediately into this wall, okay? Face towards the torch, and try to get a ledge fly off as soon as you can. Okay, I screwed up my angle, so give me a second. You have many tries to do this. So you do a ledge fly through the torch, and you should warp way up into the sky, okay? Alright, so you're gonna wanna, sort of, try to move a little bit so you can get your camera unstuck. Alright, so, for whatever reason in this level, y equals 0 is super high up, okay? So now we're essentially like on the second or third floor right now. So now point your camera down, and you should be above like where a room probably should be, but it's just empty, okay? Go around this tunnel to the right, and then once you get past like that wall, turn past the right way. Okay. And so now what you're gonna see down here is a room to the right, and a room to the left, and this hallway. Okay? What you're going to want to do is face the hallway with L2, and then just hold L2 and then run. You'll clip through the ceiling, and the end of the collapse sequence is right there. So I usually split as soon as I hit the fade out, okay? And that is Neopets the Darkest Faerie Act 1 basically done.
Over here, young master.
So that is going to be it for this segment of the tutorial. That was part 4, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the strats that I showed in this video, feel free to follow up in a YouTube comment, Twitter DM's fine, find us in Discord. We'd be happy to help. Coming up next, we're going to cover the entirety of Act 2. Act 2 has... Act 2 I'm going to be kind of going through a little bit quickly just because it's generally movement, routing, and a couple of small skips throughout. So, thank you so much for watching. Any feedback is appreciated, and catch you folks in the next video. Take care.